Hello, this is Ben from Ben's Kitchen and Garden. I'm at the garden plot on an absolutely gorgeous August night, and a few tomatoes are ripening up. So I just wanted to do a quick little walkthrough of how I identify and I sort of decide what to pick. So right away I'm starting with an easy one because I noticed this. I would actually say that this is almost too ripe. So when I look at a tomato, and I'll show you a few other examples I found, this super red all the way through, and you can see that the bottom is red, the top is red, but it's also like basically on the ground. And I would like to pick that earlier if I could. When it gets to be that ripe and it's nearly touching the ground, it's usually a recipe for some animal, insect, or just rot because it is on the ground. But, you know, it's gorgeous. It's perfectly red. It's going to be ripe all the way through. And then the other part is it'll probably need to be eaten in a day or two. So if you pick them just a little bit under this, they'll still ripen up. They'll still be beautifully colored all the way through, super juicy, super flavorful. But they'll also last a few days longer, which I like. And there will be people that will argue that you need to wait until they get this red all the way through. I just haven't found that to be the case. I think you can leave them a little bit under and ensure that you have time to let them sit on your counter, ripen up. They still are delicious and juicy. So let's do a quick little walk over here and I'll show you a few other examples. I just rode my bike here, so my bike's in there. It's a little bench I built. Got the whole garden set up here. All right, so let's look. There's another tomato right here. And this one, you can see, is a little bit more green at the top. But the big indicator is that it's actually, oh, and I just picked it. Well, there you go. So I guess we can look at this one. This is going to be an orange or a yellow tomato. And I can tell, just running my hand over it, this is pretty far under. So yeah, the green shoulders are one indicator, but it's actually not all that accurate. There are some tomatoes that end up with a little bit of green on them. The big thing is the feel. So when I press the bottom of this is still pretty hard. So I definitely picked this too early. I wasn't actually intending to pick it, but you can see that, yeah, this will soften up and this will ripen up, but it's never going to be fully juicy and ripe now just sitting on my counter. And the way I know that is because if this is still hard down here, it's pretty unlikely that it's going to get all the way ripe all the way through. In a day or two on the plant, this probably would have been ideal, but what are you going to do? Sometimes they just fall off when you're inspecting them. So green shoulders, sure, that's an indicator, not always accurate. Then the big thing is this bottom, and it's just being a little bit too hard. So, oh well, there's two there for you. And then I'll show you the big decision here. You got these gorgeous purple ones, which I've videoed and talked about on my blog, Ben's Kitchen and Garden. They're just absolutely stunning. They're still ripening up. But here you go. So I've been looking at this tomato for quite a while. This is a really tough decision because I have a massive heirloom here, but unfortunately, and I'm just trying to get a better angle, it's sitting on the ground. Now, I don't want this one to go to waste. I really don't want something to get after this, and I really don't want this to come back in a few days and realize that I should have just picked it. So I'm gonna pick this. I know this is under. I also know that it's sitting on the ground, so something's gonna get after it before I can. And I also know that this will ripen up really nicely on my counter because I can feel the bottom here and it's starting to give away just a little bit. So those are my indicators. I mean, I'm making a decision here. Yeah, this would be nice to sit for another day or two, but these heirlooms ripen up really nicely. I can feel this bottom. It's giving way. It's not completely rock hard. I got some decent coloring. I can already see that something is starting to find its way in there. So I'm picking it. And we'll see. I always weigh them. I think last year my biggest tomato was just over 2 pounds. This won't be anywhere near that, but that's a nice one to start with. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's what happens. So that'll have to be eaten right away. Oh, bummer. And this last one over here, I have A couple orange ones here. And I can just tell that these are ready to go. Video cut off there, but you can see that this one's ready to go. Soft on the bottom, super orange or yellow, and ready to be eaten probably in the next day. So those are just some examples. I have a few more to pick. Bummer. I think I might have even done that. I might have bumped it against this garden bed, but it's also resting on there. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens early season here when they're super low to the ground. So those are just some indicators that I look for. There's some pretty colors there early on. And then also just that decision making. You have to figure out what works for you, when you want to pick them, and how ripe. All right, little bonus here. So I've talked about these. These are, I think these are Atomic Grape or Atomic Sunshine or Sunset. Can't remember off the top of my head. But this is a really challenging tomato to pick. I picked one earlier and I could tell I picked it probably a little bit early just because I wanted to see what that would look like on my counter. So now I'm getting red, I'm getting dark purples, I'm getting some greens, and a little bit of softness. But I mean, this is a stunning, stunning tomato. Probably one of the prettier tomatoes I've seen. I love this variety. Very curious to see how it tastes. It's always sort of at odds sometimes with appearance. Uglier tomatoes seem to be tastier. I'm not sure why that is. Less breeding and interference, I suppose. And you can see this one's still maybe a little hard, but I'm gonna let this sit on my counter just so I can get a reference point. Like if I let this sit for 3, 4, 5 days on my counter, I'll see it when it's fully ripe, and then I'll know exactly what to look for. So there you go. There's some variety of tomatoes, and we're just getting started here. I'm way in the center of my tomato garden here, tomato jungle. So fun times. Thanks for watching.